Hey everyone, just a quick heads up. I'm pretty sure last week's broadcast didn't go out properly, but I'm just going to move on with the next episode. So if you'd like to catch up on where the story is, just email me at jbeck21@mail.woo.edu and I'll give you access to the Google Drive where you can listen to past episodes. Thanks. You're listening to KWOU. Coming up next, the amazing, unbelievable adventures of Dr. Theophilius Crux, Ph.D., and his faithful companion Archibald, the Tasmanian emu. Brought to you by your own subjective experience of reality, filtered through fallible biological mechanisms and pre-established mental schema. We're not going to say it's the best deal in town, we're just going to say it's the only deal you've got. Looking for alternatives is strictly prohibited. Proceed with caution. Relax, folks. It's just you and me, together in this void across space and time. For the moment, we are safe from intrusion, hidden away in a mystic nook. Nick Denning is here with us, don't worry. He's a good person to have in the void. We're going to ask him a few questions and see what he says, okay? All right. Nick, how are you?
Doing very good. It's nice to join you in the void today.
I must say it's a pleasure to have you here in the void. So to begin with, what are your pronouns, what are your nouns, and what are your adjectives?
Ooh, my pronouns are definitely he, him, his. My nouns are person,
You seem
human.
hesitant.
I'm trying to think of maybe a more creative noun like root.
Root. That's a good noun.
Thank you.
What about adjectives?
Adjectives, maybe hurried. Sometimes I'm in a bit of a rush to get places. I'd say enjoying, as in I'm having a good day. Yeah.
Okay. What do you do here at Woo?
I'm a major in philosophy. I've got a minor in English literature, and I play for the percussion ensemble.
Nice. What do you like about philosophy?
Ooh, what a great question. I got into philosophy because I thought it gave me a new vocabulary to talk with people with. So, for instance, I could ask you whether you think more about space or more about time in your experience. And I just wouldn't have known how to ask those questions or even how to interpret responses to the questions before I started taking philosophy classes.
I see. So it's expanded your vocabulary and therefore your worldview.
Exactly.
What do you like about reality?
Oh, wow. What a good question. Well, Jasper, today, I like that you're with me in this reality.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
That's a plus. Other things I like about reality, I like colors. I like sunshine. I like trees. There are a lot of things to like about reality, I think.
It's true. It's a novelty, if nothing else.
Yeah.
How could we improve your customer experience?
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh so loud into the mic. Yeah, how should we improve this customer experience of ours? Well, you could get rid of nuclear weapons. That would be a great start. You could just tone down daily anxiety by about 50%, and I think we'd still be in normal levels. You could make the summers a little less hot. More generally, I kind of wish that people could fly too.
That's been a frequent recommendation here at the servers. Yeah.
I'm happy to be a number of them.
Tell us about the incident.
The incident?
Yes, you know what we're talking about.
Oh, I mean, of course. You were talking with me just about the incident yesterday. In fact, it seems like everybody's talking about the incident.
Yeah, can't keep them quiet despite our best efforts.
Jeez. Well, it was pretty hot for one thing. Yeah. It was also pretty dark. So, I didn't really see much about the incident. I definitely felt the heat, though.
That's what most people say.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Describe the feeling of being lost using only 3-word sentences.
Absent from time. Like a pebble rolling downhill.
Nice. That's actually quite poetic.
Oh, thank you.
Pick any two philosophers. Who would win in a fight?
Ooh, John Locke versus Immanuel Kant. John Locke would win.
John Locke would win.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'll put my money on him next time he comes up.
Good.
So I've heard self-categorization systems like the Myers-Briggs or the Big Five test described as being wrong but useful. Is that a dangerous thought to entertain? What other things are wrong but useful, and what are your thoughts on similar self-categorization?
Wow. Another amazing question. You know, we actually had to take the Myers-Briggs test when we were applying to become RAs back when I was an RA.
Really?
I don't know if your experience is the same. Then we had to write a long essay about how we felt that test explained our personality, you know, what we felt was deep inside us. And the whole time I was really not enjoying it because it's like, this test doesn't really know who I am. You know, I don't even know if I was lying when I inputted those little dots, you know, the yes or no questions. Man. So I would say they are pretty wrong but useful in the sense that the test only knows as much about you as you're willing to share and as you know about yourself.
I see.
And maybe even less. I wonder what it's useful for, though.
Yeah. I mean, if it is it even possible for anything to be wrong but useful?
Oh, yeah. Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up.
On a similar note, what are different philosophers' view of the self?
Ooh, that's another great question. Well, recently I took an existentialism class, as you may be aware, and we studied somebody named Kierkegaard, who thinks that the self should actually be considered a verb as opposed to a noun. So we're always selfing. We're always describing ourselves to ourselves, and that's how we come to understand ourselves.
I see.
So, I mean, I wake up in the morning and I go out for a walk. Am I describing to myself that I like nature? All of a sudden that becomes the truth about me. If instead I had woken up and I had eaten a large breakfast, am I describing to myself that I'm a fan of breakfasts? I think they're the most important meal of the day. Well, that becomes a truth about me now too. But in any case, we could make a different choice, describe ourselves in a different way, and we'd always be verbing.
I see. What is art?
Ooh, yeah. Oh, man. I wish that I was asking these questions and somebody else was answering them, because I would love to hear what anybody else thinks about that question. Well, something that's recently become a phenomenon is that we're starting to consider art as an action as opposed to just something completed after a finished process, right?
Sure.
So I really enjoy works of art that have a particular story about how they were created. They were created in such a way that the finished art and the process of making the art just work together super well. Like those pieces of like sculpture that are made out of plastic from the ocean.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't answer what art is.
Sure. Well, that's the answer isn't necessarily the goal. Perhaps it's the process of asking the question.
That sounds perfect to me.
Yeah. I'm also reminded, I believe it's a Japanese art form of shattering pottery and then putting it back together with like a gold inlay.
Indeed.
Yeah. So that looks really cool.
Yeah.
The dog is running fast. What is it chasing?
A cat.
Or what is chasing it?
Oh, wow. I think for both answers, a cat really might work.
A cat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could also be chasing something more general, like the truth.
Oh.
In which case, I would feel like we're a lot like that dog.
Or what if the truth is chasing us?
Oh, man. Then I better just stay still. What have I been doing all this time?
That's true. That's true. Do you think it's possible that the dog could be running after and also being chased by the cat simultaneously?
Yeah, I think that is possible. Yeah.
Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, we've got a little superpositionality going on with that cat now.
Do you write?
I do write.
What do you write?
Well, I should say that I used to write. When I was transitioning from being a senior in high school to a freshman in college, it was pretty stressful for me. I had a lot of emotions I needed to get out, and so I did that through my writing. Just, little poems here and there. I haven't written in a long time, though.
I see.
Yeah.
So you used that as kind of like journaling then?
I was journaling as well. Also writing poetry, even stuff far from my own experience.
Wow.
Like imagining myself as a worker in a like construction company, for instance, and writing a poem from that perspective. That was stuff that I tried to do too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. What does inspiration feel like?
Oh, it's been described as lightning before. I kind of think it feels a lot like love. The two are pretty connected. So you know the feeling of when you see the person that you love after a long time of being apart? I think that that's what inspiration feels like too.
Interesting. That's a very compelling answer.
Thank you.
Even though none of us have been to Antarctica,
Yeah.
why does it instill such emotion into us?
Great question. I read a horror story by H.P. Lovecraft called At the Mountains of Madness.
Indeed.
That featured Antarctica, and it was very, very compelling. So I'm right there with you in this question. Most of us have seen snow. Imagining a whole world of snow and ice, I think that that's very captivating.
Okay. What have you been dreaming of?
Oh, wow. Great question. Last night, I dreamt about my friend Colin, who lives in Arizona right now. And I dreamt that he had released a 9-minute song on iTunes, and I was listening to it, and I loved it so much, I tried to track him down by walking to Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That would be a long walk.
I never found him.
Rip. Rip, Colin.
Yeah, sorry, Colin.
Name a problem with the world and a way to fix it.
Ooh. Oh, man. Now I feel like I'm on Pod Save America or something. There is trash in bodies of water. We can pick that trash up when we see it, like in streams, rivers. Yeah, just pick it up.
Years later, that problem has grown up and decided that it wants to name itself. Are you okay with this as the problem's parent? And is it contingent on whether the problem's name is Angus?
It can name itself if it wants. If it's got intelligence at this point, I'm even willing to consider it not a problem any longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. So if any global crises become sentient, they're no longer crises.
Yeah, I think so.
Crises, yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know. What is your fairy stepfather's opinion of the whole situation, and why hasn't he written back?
You know, he's never paid much attention to me. I'm kind of the odd one out, you know, out of his, I think, 100 children he keeps responsibility for.
I see.
Man, I've just stopped writing to him.
That's unfortunate.
If you're listening to this, fairy godfather, I'm not angry. You can come back when you want to, but until then, I think I'm going to keep some distance between us.
What's an aspect of nature you find calming?
Oh, wow. Looking at a very small part of it and just imagining how even that small part that's so beautiful, you multiply it by 1,000,000, and that's like the earth. So, you know, looking at like a few blades of grass, maybe a ladybug happens to fly onto them, then just imagining, wow, think about all those blades of grass and all those fields and all the earth.
What's an aspect of artifice you find calming?
Ooh, yeah. Bridges are very pretty. I like bridges. You know, I learned the other day that there was a movement maybe 30 years ago about putting a bridge over the Grand Canyon.
Oh.
I would not find that artifice very attractive.
No?
No.
Even if they had the world's best architects and engineers and artists commissioned for the work?
Okay,
It would be a monument to everything we ever stood for.
All right.
And could stand for.
The idea is growing on me. So long as the purpose was for art.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think humanity is obsessed with itself? And is that a good or bad thing?
Oh, definitely. It's been obsessed with itself for a long time. I mean, think about how many of our thoughts are human-centric, right? Oh my gosh. I mean, I would start naming human-centric thoughts, but I feel like I'd start naming all of my thoughts, you know?
True.
I need to get to work to make money so that I can buy myself some food, you know? I want to take a walk because I want to be the kind of person that enjoys nature. Ooh, that's a hard one to escape from. Yeah. I do think it's a problem. I think if we were better about forgetting about ourselves, we would see a lot more in the world.
Good to know.
Man, I wish I could ask you these questions too.
Oh, well, nothing's stopping you.
What do you think so as well? I mean, what are some thoughts that you think aren't human-centric?
Well, I have no frame of context, frame of reference, rather. How is it possible to name non-human centric thoughts when the generator of thoughts that is my brain is located inside a human?
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's true.
I would almost think that any attempt to get outside of yourself is just another extension of yourself.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Oh.
You might be right about that. But perhaps we could minimize thoughts about human centricity. You know, I mean, deep meditation tends to get you out of, I think, thoughts about yourself and thoughts about the species.
If but for a moment.
Yeah, if but for a moment.
Why is philosophy generally frowned upon as a practice?
Another really great question too. Yeah, why is philosophy frowned upon? You know, I was talking with somebody just the other day that when I speak with people about philosophy, I almost feel like I'm some kind of spy or something because I'm so into philosophy. I find it even hard to view it from the perspective of somebody who hasn't studied it. Oh man, I don't actually know if I mean that. Oh, wow. I think a lot of people feel like philosophy doesn't actually do anything. It's something that happens when you're sitting down, you're thinking, not even talking with others, just you on your own in a space, just thinking. And I don't think that that appeals to a lot of people.
That's a fair point. Yeah, I've known quite a number of people who are much more action-oriented. They want to go do something, and philosophy seems like the antithesis of doing.
I think so. Yeah, I think it seems that way. Maybe later we can talk about what philosophy could be if we were able to think about it in a different way.
Praxis.
Yeah, praxis.
What do you see in people?
I notice their eyes a lot. I notice smiles a lot too. And I feel like when I meet somebody, I see something within them that's the combination of their eyes and their smile. And then it kind of tells me if I want to get to know them.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to getting to know people that I intuitively might not want to get to know.
Has it ever turned out for the better that way?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
I wonder what inside of you makes you correlate those two things then.
I know, seriously. It's a bit of a bias that happens sometimes.
Oh. Describe a piece of media you were interested in growing up and your physical surroundings when you were enjoying said media.
Can you ask the question one more time?
Sure. Describe a piece of media you were interested in while you were growing up and your physical surroundings when you were enjoying said media.
Nice. I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot when I was growing up.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a pull-out bed in my living room back at home, and me and my mom, when I was really young, would sleep there overnight and then wake up like Saturday morning and put on Saturday morning cartoons, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Would almost always be on.
I see.
Yeah. Oh, that was such a blast.
As you were picturing the physical surroundings of your past, you didn't notice a small beady-eyed figure in the corner of the room. Don't bother looking for him. He disappeared the moment I brought him up, but what do you think he was there for?
Wow. He must be looking for something, right? I wonder what he's looking for. Maybe. Oh, wow. Maybe when I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh, somebody was really trapped inside that screen, just playing the part of Yugi over and over again.
Ah.
Maybe the beady-eyed man likes that.
Maybe. People never quite understand what I mean when I say this, but what is the proper relationship between fiction and reality? Because clearly, the fiction we tell ourselves can influence our reality, sometimes harmfully. But at the same time, art should be able to do anything. But then again, fiction completely divested from reality is unrelatable. But then again, is it even possible to divest fiction from reality? And at that point, what's the difference between fiction and reality? You see what I mean?
I do see what you mean. It seems like we're always creating reality out of things that are originally fictitious, right?
True.
So when we all agree that something is real, it almost seems like we've made it real, at least to us and to our community. I'm not going to say that that means that it's real, right? But it's hard sometimes to tell what's real from what's just real.
Sure.
And so I'm down to say that fiction plays a very big part in how we construct the world.
So there is a relationship. Do you think it is a healthy one?
Ooh, a healthy one. Definitely not. I mean, think about all of the sometimes yes. But think about all of the things that are fictitious that, we've come up with in our minds that have just spoiled so much about the world. I mean, the fiction that the more money you make, the more valuable you are, which seems to be a driving force for a lot of people, considering there are a lot of folks who have a bunch of money and just aren't doing anything with it.
True.
And then we could talk about, different kind of isms like sexism, racism, those things too, that kind of came out of somebody's head and ended up influencing reality in a terrible way.
Huh. What sort of music do you listen to?
Rock, mostly.
I see.
Yeah.
What sort of opinions do you listen to?
On the left, mostly.
What sort of colors do you listen to?
Green, lots of green.
How will the exchange rate between pictures and words be affected by the oncoming inflation of U.S. currency?
Oh, I haven't thought about that one yet.
Because, a picture used to be worth 1,000 words, but it's probably going to fluctuate some.
Jeez. All right. Maybe we should all start kind of hoarding up the pictures that we have now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, keep them until they're more valuable in the future, maybe for our kids. Eventually, we won't even need to write books anymore.
That's true. Yeah. Make art galleries instead.
Yeah.
What do you know about love?
A little bit, but I'd still say very little. I know that it feels like inspiration.
That is true. We've previously established that.
I know that it really hurts when it doesn't go well. Yeah.
Anything else?
I know that it feels amazing when it does go well.
Very true.
Yeah. I know that a lot of songs are about love. Almost too many.
Too many songs.
Yeah, there's a vast array of human emotions. Why are we singing about love so often?
I guess it's just that good.
Yeah.
Imagine yourself in 30 years' time.
Okay. Wow. Oh, man. Sometimes I'm fearful for that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is he doing well?
I see him. He's kind of sitting down. Now he's standing up. He's stretching. I think he feels a little tired. He's walking somewhere. He's getting the newspaper. He's got a scowl on his face like he doesn't like what he sees. He's walking back into the house. Ooh, the house is dark.
There's a house, though.
Yeah, there's a house. At least there's that.
Yeah.
All right. So not too bad.
Not too bad. Yeah. I guess we'll have to wait and see whatever he read in the newspaper.
Oh, geez.
Crazy that the newspaper's still around in 30 years.
Actually, yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Maybe he's sort of old-fashioned.
Probably so, knowing this guy.
Yeah. Little Timmy is dreaming that he's someone he's not, but now it's time to get ready for school. Is little Timmy ready to wake up from the dream?
No, it doesn't sound like it, but he has to be. We've all been there, right?
I think so.
Jeez. We're with you, little Timmy. You can stay in this reality as long as you want, okay? We'll handle the homework. All right.
And finally, is it possible to unbelieve something once you have believed it? And if so, do you find this show unbelievable?
It is possible to unbelieve something after you've believed it. I have to believe that because there are many things I want people to unbelieve.
That's a fair point. I have not heard it formulated that way.
You know what, though? I do think that this show is very believable.
Very believable.
It's very believable.
Gosh darn it. Okay.
I mean, I see you right here before my eyes.
Do you?
Ooh. It's funny because the listeners don't, though.
They don't.
How do they know you're not just playing two voices right now?
I am known to do that on this show. Anyway, and now a reading by Nick Denning.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote about a year ago, but I wanted to give you all some context for it first, because it kind of tries to tell a story, but I'm not very effective at it. So just give me the benefit of the doubt here. The poem itself is called Habits Before Dawn. It comes from a period of time in my life when I was working at a box factory and hating every second of it. I made some really good money there, but I had to wake up most mornings at 4 o'clock, drive over to Portland, and just shove boxes into machines pretty much, for as long as the day went. This poem is about somebody who works at a construction site, and all of a sudden he realizes that a lot of time has passed since he last thought about his childhood and his relationship with his mom. You'll notice that there's two characters who speak in this poem. The thoughts of the man who's, reflecting all of a sudden, and also his wife trying to reach him and talk to him through his reflections. And I'll change my voice up a little bit to try to capture that. He does realize something. It's hard to understand what he realizes, though, but I hope that it's something powerful. Habits before dawn. One stone, then another, and another. He tells me how high, and I stack. Their weight, I remember, was new years ago. Older now, they falter on hands that feel a little different. I've noticed the way my fingers hang, unconcerned beneath my weight, when warm water used to reach them in the shower. You're wet. A sound, just one, when the space between two stones is broken. On days when I have slept beyond my means, it sounds like the fall of a chess piece. I hear it loud and unmistakably. On other days, it passes its pressure along from my arm to the stack, while the rest of my body quietly closes, coming down from the thought. Come down, she says, from the foot of the stairs. Home now, I lie on a mattress. Come down, she says. On the commute, I punch in a playlist, an old one. Anything else would do better, but these fingers reach by habit before dawn. Floyd, Beatles, those teenage whims, they won't loosen my mind as they used to. Feeling the distance between on-ramp and off, and around the bends, that is their gift today. You've been out today, she says. I have. Late, in the rain. Was it? It was my mother who taught me how to live through a storm. But tonight, you won't go out with me. It's not that I won't. You won't make a sound. She liked to play chess when the rain came. Gutters would groan under its press, and the animals would shout until hoarse. She would smile then, reaching for something. A pawn, a queen, a rook. It would fall. Ba-bum. I would smile then too, though I rarely claimed a piece. Did I ever reach for her rook? Will you? She asks me, as the wet clothes hug my skin beneath her embrace. I hear her search for where I've been, trying to place me. Her hands wring out my pockets and I shiver. She finds a receipt for new gloves. She doesn't think I see, but a sigh lengthens her breath, and I know that I'm off the hook. They were bought for the job, and it must have been a long day. It comes to me then, the sound of it, with the closing of our door, stepping out onto the concrete, the stone. It sounds like a chess piece. A reminder of my secret to put away before she asks again. Of today, of a woman hitchhiking after work, and old. It's her. The age she might have been. The way that her gray flannel had darkened in the evening rain, making me cold behind the glass. And I wonder, had anyone reached her? Tonight, our mattress is wet from my clothes, and I wonder if she slept. I feel like apologizing, soft beneath the drizzle. As my lips open, subtle, I add that I've lost it. The memory of my mom's voice. It stayed behind me on the highway when I left her there, a day's exhaustion on my shoulders. Feeling the distance, I get back up, reach for the new gloves and search again. Each corner, each street. I want to hear her. I want her to hear the sound of something louder than a rain sweep. Something other than stones falling absently into place.
We will return to the day before oblivion, a DMV line of hopes and dreams waiting to be approved while it rains in heavy droplets in the parking lot through dusty glassed windows and sage-tinted sadness. After the break. You're listening to KWOU. The world ends tomorrow, Luce. Can you believe it? I can. What I want to know, though, is whether I can unbelieve it. Yeah, I get what you mean. It would be nice, but I think belief is a bit too sticky for that, you know? It's like a ratchet. You can't twist it the other way. Maybe if I keep twisting it then, it'll return to the position it was in before all of this. Do you really want that? What are the criteria for really wanting something? Nah, that's a fair point. I just want to stop worrying about it and start favoring the here and now over my own participation in it. And at the moment, you're here and you're now. Is that too much to ask? Fuchsia smiled. Not at all. Everyday living. That's what they had found. The soundbite was not created by some sacred keeper of wisdom, some hooded figure sequestered away in the old places, but rather just a guy, an artist, making something he loved to pay the next month's rent. Unless the lizards commissioned the work with a specific interpretation in mind, this was the end of the trail. It probably wasn't. To Fuchsia, it seemed like the lizards definitely still had something in store, but upon meeting the maker of the soundbite, his name's Randall, by the way, they took his way of life as more meaningful than whatever they had planned. Randall would get up, partake in ritualized hygiene, eat, and then step out into the world, capturing its every whisper and grunt with listening eyes and a recording microphone. A stenographer of the city, a cartographer of sounds, an explorer, an artist chiefly, but just a guy on the side. He had a willingness to live. Fuchsia and Luce found him inspiring. So here they were, having a nice little picnic in the field next to the cliff overlooking the great deserts below, the void to their backs. Not in spite, but in courtesy, because not even the void likes being looked at all the time. Didn't your mother teach you that it's not polite to stare? Everyday living. Was it really that hard? How do you think it'll go down? Luce asked. Fuchsia chewed a mozzarella ball. Oh, you mean the world? I don't know. It's hard to say. Could be anything, really. I always imagined it as the lights going out, and it's all just dark. Immediately, abject, casual. The end and nothing else. No big lead up, no earthquakes or fire from the sky. Maybe metaphorically, but no, the prophecy didn't seem that cliche. Funny how it all still hinges on the prophecy. If it had never been given, things might have turned out differently. Well, they would only be different in their sameness. I would still be mildly sad, you'd still be thirsty, Mrs. Sinsatter would still be downright miserable, Matt, well, he's always Matt, and Augustine. Say, where is Augustine? Or Mrs. Sinsatter, for that matter. True. We were all just sort of went our own separate ways when we came into the city. I wonder if they've both found what they're looking for. Not to speak ill of our companions, but I doubt it. Luce leaned back and dealt himself some Triscuits. Yeah, you're right. Matt Brown let out a heavy sigh, resisting the urge to threaten the reptiles. Obviously, not out of sense of humanity, but because threatening them would be too predictable. He needed some new material, something fresh and original. Unfortunately, he didn't have much to go off of. He was strapped to a table in a large dark room with a bunch of reptiles, staring up at what seemed to be an impossibly large Tesla coil. He couldn't gain more context by asking, "What do you want from me?" or "What are you planning?" Not because that too would be too cliché, though to be fair it was, but because the reptiles had taken the liberty of making some adjustments while he was hallucinating. Also, they had taken his tongue. "Ah-ha-ha-ha," Matt Brown said, and the author agreed. "Ah, good, you're awake," said the little yellow lizard, descending a cute little sinister spiral staircase. "I was beginning to think we had managed to kill you. How anticlimactic would that be?" Matt Brown did not emote. This was a mundane situation which required no drama. He would give them nothing. He was dead. He was an object. He did not exist. He always hadn't, so why did he have to fight so hard for it now? I see you're struggling against the narrative we've been constructing. The yellow lizard chuckled. How cliché, that's been done before. Surely you could have found some way to subvert, deconstruct, or deny the bonds we've given you. Surely you could have escaped. Matt's whole body seized, and the lizard laughed. Careful now. You know what happens to vampires if they rage against the leash we keep on them. Don't tell me the company has already begun believing its own propaganda by the time it fell. Don't tell me, one, because you can't, we have use of your silver tongue elsewhere, but two, don't tell me because we already know. Classic Matt Brown. He gave up trying before the tribulation even began. None of what you're saying makes any sense, and you call yourself constructors of narrative. Well, of course, buddy. You know very well the narrative is constructed retroactively. Your sound and fury has been instrumental in providing raw material for us to work with. Even now, we spiral gleefully towards the story's thrilling conclusion, its antagonist usurped by an even greater evil. Can't you feel the drama? The pathos? The meaning? I can't feel anything, and you know that full well. I know, I was mocking you. Matt Brown weighed his options. He could carry on with this inane conversation and hope that something either revelatory or deconstructible would present itself. He could resume self-objectification and hope he could weather the storm of whatever narrative the lizard had in store for him. Or he could try to escape. He was most afraid of that one, because the lizard had already called him out on it, so if he tried now and failed, he would be left without ammunition. The lizard could be bluffing about knowing the vampires' weakness beneath weakness, but was Matt willing to bet on it? There was a knocking deep within the cavern. Ah, splendid. They're here. The reptiles scurried to make way for their guest. Each and every one had a part to play in welcoming him. Geckos did the decorations, snakes took care of the cleaning, lizards made the food, the turtles handled the legal side of things, crocodilians assembled a live band, komodos acted as security, and iguanas handled the finances. The dinosaurs were, unfortunately, a no-show, as usual. They were supposed to host the whole thing, but they had planned for this contingency and had the skinks sub in. Time slowed down ever so slightly, and the ambient noise faded out in exchange for a droning whisper. An eminence was approaching. This was all highly annoying for Matt Brown, who couldn't move his head to see the procession, so he just waited for the author to quit fooling himself and describe who the guests was already. Is that so hard? You're not building suspense, you're beating a dead horse, you're taking roadkill and stretching it even farther across the road like carrion-flavored saltwater taffy. No one is invested in the drama, so why are you trying to build it? That was half the point of breaking convention and stating things outright, wasn't it? Because it didn't matter? What's gotten into you, Jasper? Did you suddenly decide that this show had a narrative, Mr. Brown? Is the lifeblood of any work of literature. Wait, give me a second. I'm still taking notes. Narrative, lifeblood, literature. Yes, of literature, which by its very definition is deeply meaningful and able to stand the test of time. Wait, the test is timed? Concentrate on your studies, Mr. Brown. You wouldn't want to end up like Rose here, now would you? Matt glanced over at his classmate, Rose. She looked terrible. Her eyes were dead, and her face was set, consigned to the fate thrust upon her. Something was wrong here. Matt shook his head. No, I don't think so. Matt raised his hand. Mr. Hatter, if literature is deeply meaningful, why doesn't it make any sense to me? Mr. Hatter smiled. Now you're asking the right questions, Matt. How do we eliminate this disconnect between you and the narrative? Might I suggest a solution? He walked to the door. For today's class, I've invited a special guest, an expert, you might say, on the participatory nature of narrative, the embodiment of empathy and embodiment of the timeless archetypes that will carry us out and onward. Children, kneel before your king. 10,000 pounds of descriptive weight, his crown glinting with sickly enlightenment. Speaking out of both sides of his mouth, King Plot approached the instruments of his grand design. The metaphor could hardly contain his gravitas. He was a bullfrog, a titan, a worm. With a Pulitzer-winning gurgle, he spoke out his prophecy against the prophecy. You, little girl, shall be my damsel in distress. The creaking of the world. And you, little monster, shall be my villain. And now a poem. I wouldn't worry, it's the guilt that gets ya, but he's recovering fine from that. But the mental pathways are still there. He'll be stuck that way without further care, and I'm not authorized to prescribe anything, but then again, aren't we all? I could refer you to a specialist, but I hear you were a pessimist, so I should warn you that doesn't always bode well. They can often hyperfixate on the problems and how to fix it and forget the needs of our clientele. But rest assured, we'll find a way. We're invested in your investment in us, thus we'll do what's best for us. And you, of course. Plus, it's your third time this month, entitling you to our Platinum membership, where you can enjoy expedited care and free coffee. It's all free, provided you maintain your engagement with us. Otherwise, you'll lose those privileges and go back to being just another sicko. So please, don't change. If you feel like you need it, use it. No more natural than ears to music. You've got a ways to go. Remember that we need you, and you need us too. If we stick together, we'll both see us through. This dark time in your life is nothing but a dream. Wake up! Things are not what they seem. Tune in next week for the next episode. If you'd like to support the show, please consider donating an organ to the cloaked figures in the unmarked black van outside your house. They told me it was for a good cause. And as always, provided my medication's still working, I'm Jasper Beck, and this is The Amazing, Unbelievable Adventures of Dr. Theophilius Crux, Ph.D., and his faithful companion Archibald, the Tasmanian emu. You're listening to KWOU. Woo.